What's up, home team? Episode 8 of the Jamie's Day Off podcast, coming to you live from Lubbock, Texas, the greatest city west of the Mississippi. Correction from last week where I said east, because I don't know my directions like an asshole. But that's neither here nor there. What matters is we're live like Channel 5. Let's get right into it, all right? So today is Saturday, and not really much going on today, but we were easy. It's been easy like a Sunday morning, except it's Saturday. So like I said, not much happening today. Got up about 6:30, had my coffee, did my outline for this episode. Just took it easy all the way up until about 9:30. Then we started getting my son up ready for his soccer game today. So, got a little bit of a soccer recap today. This week they were, we were told that, not we, but the kids were told that this week they were going to have a tough team to face. And sure enough, these kids were, these kids were pretty good, man. And, they really had their work cut out for them. And, the coach had them, I'm pretty sure, practice, extra hard this week to get ready for this team. And sure enough, when we got there to the field, these kids on the opposite team, they were all tall for kids. You know what I'm saying? For 10, 11, 12-year-olds, they were pretty tall for their age. They were consistent. They were consistently tall. They were almost all the same size, as opposed to my son's team, where they're it's like a mixture of short kids and taller kids. My son being on the taller side, and it was a beautiful, slightly breezy October morning, to start off, and sure enough, it was all conditions were right and conducive for a good back and forth game, which it was. The other kids, like I was mentioning, they looked like they were the type of kids that looked like they grew up playing sports at an earlier age, because mind you, they are kids, and they're, like I said, 10, 11, 12. So probably from the time they were like 6 and 7 years old, they probably started doing sports, and they took the sports that they were playing today, and up to this point, they looked like they were the type of kids that took those sports a little bit more serious, because of their parents. The parents pushed them to do sports, and they just become good at an early age, which is nothing wrong with that. You want to start the kids early, but you want to keep in mind to let the kids also be kids. It's and I take this with a grain of salt. You want your kids to have fun. You want them to have fun while they're playing these sports, but you also want them to win. But you got to keep in mind that they are kids. You can't fucking push these kids too hard to be winners. You know what I'm saying? They got to be able to enjoy themselves and be kids, like I said. So it was a tough game nonetheless, and they rose to the occasion. It was a good game, like I said. It ended in a tie, 1-1, and that brings my son's team to 2 wins, 2 ties, and no losses. But the last 2 games have ended in a tie, but they played the last year's previously best teams. So they've been able to hold their own. No matter who they've played thus far. So it looks very good going into the next handful of games that they've got left. And my son, he's really coming into his own. From when I first started going to his games and seeing him play, he we didn't bring him up playing sports. Like I said, I let my kids be kids, because that's what childhood is all about, is being a kid and having as much fun as you can being a kid, right? So he didn't grow up playing sports, but it has showed in previous games, because he was scared to make contact and get in the mix and get the ball and make plays and make breaks and make shots and stuff like that. He was real timid at first. But, over these past handful of games, man, he's really coming into his own, and he's actually getting in there and trying to make plays and trying to make more happen, as it were. Because, like I said, he wasn't that type of kid to begin with. So it's really good to see his progress and how he's coming along, through all his practices and the games he's had thus far. So it's really heartwarming to see, man, when your kids are going through that growth and that evolution, the older they get. So, looking forward to these next few games. and seeing what these kids do. And one thing I want to mention before I get to the meat and potatoes of this bitch, these coaches for these soccer teams, man, my son's team's coach, he's a like he takes coaching serious. You know what I'm saying? Like he really be in these kids, giving them not the most, because the coach today for this team that was supposed to have been the best team in their league. This guy was next level, man. Like he was really yelling at these kids to really get in. Somebody knocking on my door. What? My son's in here. What you want, boy? Dang kids. But yeah, this other coach, he was like next level, like getting onto these kids. Some of these kids were tired and they were wanting to be subbed out, and this guy was like, they were raising their hands to let him know, hey, I need a break and stuff. He was like, hey, what do you want me to do? I see you got your hands up. What do you want me to do? Like he was, he kind of come off as an asshole, bro. So I would have hated to have been on that guy's team. And again, I know you want these kids, you want the best to come out of your kids, but you got to remember that these guys, these are just kids, bro. Like you got to give them a fucking break every now and then. Of course, you want to win and you want to fucking, I don't know, become a coach in middle school or whatever your goal is to get to the next level or whatever your goal is, period. You know what I'm saying? You got to give these kids a fucking break. I thought our coach was a bit aggressive, but he, this guy for the opposite team he took it to the next level. So watch yourself. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. Big dicks in your ass is bad for your health. But I digress. Other than that, like I said, it was a good game all in all. We come out with the ties, so that brings their record to 2 wins, 2 ties, no losses. So we're still looking good. We're on to the next. I look forward to that this next Saturday. So other than that, like I said, we got home. I didn't do nothing else. I was already tired for whatever reason. I didn't like I said, I woke up early, but it's not like I did anything. I came home and like a fucking momo, I went straight to taking a nap. And originally, I told my wife, wake me up in 45 minutes and come in here and shake me and wake me up and make sure I get up, even if I get mad, because I have a tendency to do that. When I'm sleeping and you wake me up, I be grumpy sometimes. So I was like, 45 minutes, come in and wake me up. And sure enough, she did. And I remember, I think she let me sleep for an hour. She came in there at the first time to wake me up, and I was like, all right. And then I fell back asleep. 2 hours goes by. She comes back and wakes me up again. 3 hours fucking goes by, and she finally shakes me and tells me to wake up, and I kind of, got a little attitude with her. I get that from my dad. My attitude, especially when you wake me up, it's not good sometimes. But, I did end up getting up. I laid down in bed for, probably an hour and a half, just going through the social medias, and finally got up and started working on this outline and finalized it. Had dinner. You can hear this kid, and sure enough, here we are. So, like I said, it was an easy Saturday. Not a whole lot going on. So, I'll take an easy day when I can get one here and there. So, today that's what it was. Let's get into last week, right? So last week, for my first job, my CDL job, we put in a total of about 41 hours, right? And it was a pretty easy week overall, right? It was like I said, I only put in like 41 hours as opposed to I put in like 42 and 45, I would say 45 hours at the most at this day job since I've been there. So it was a pretty easy week. We didn't have a whole lot of stops, to work with overall this past week. Again, I'll take an easy week when I can get it, but at the same time, I need these overtime hours. Because overtime is where it's at, even though you get taxed like a motherfucker on overtime. But I do make a lot of money for my regular hours, so you can imagine what time and a half is. So I do like overtime. I do like an easy week. You got to take the good with the bad. It's good and bad, the yin and the yang. So this week was definitely easier. I'm still getting the hang of this job. I'm memorizing the processes. I'm getting the hang of that. Memorizing a little bit more. Able to, when we happen to get to a stop, I can get in and do the check-in process a little bit more easier, and then the actual stocking and the heavy lifting, as it were, is not hard at all. It's pretty straightforward. You can teach a monkey to stock shelves, but the the check-in and the paperwork process, it's still a process, and it's still an adjustment. But this week I feel like it was a little bit easier than it was the first week, and that's to be expected if you apply yourself. These things get a little bit easier, and sure enough it was. So I worked. I had a safety class to do on Wednesday, and that was, it was a slow down from what I'm used to. We were in the conference room watching videos, slides, going over the safety procedures and information and point system, and points being like when you get in trouble, they give you points for it, and you can't go above a certain amount of points, or else you get written up and ultimately fired if you keep up with the point accumulation. So we went over a lot of that stuff today. Pretty straightforward stuff. As you can expect in a CDL job, they take these things a little bit more serious. Not a little bit more, but a lot more serious, as opposed to like my entry-level jobs that I've had up to this point. So everything was to be expected. It was still a light and easy day. There's a lot of sitting around. Sure enough, I did get tired by midday. And then we ended up going out and doing defensive driving with the safety trainer. There was like a handful of us. And, tell me why. Outside of work, I'm normally... I like to think that I'm a careful driver, right? And I'm a pretty... I guess you could say defensive driver. I don't speed too often. I don't do erratic lane changes, do anything that you're not supposed to 9 times out of 10. And I'm not a nervous driver, but put me in there with somebody who's watching me drive and making sure I'm doing what they require. Like, tell me why I get nervous. Like, I forget. It's like learning how to drive all over. Like, I was nervous with this guy watching me. I was like, trying to, again, do what he asked me to do, calling out speed limits, pedestrians, moving cars, non-moving cars, that type of stuff. And, it just makes me nervous, and I feel like I'm learning how to drive all over again, and it was just nerve-wracking altogether. So that was probably the most, and I don't know if hard is the right word, but it was something else to behold, and I didn't like it. But we got it done nonetheless. So that part of my safety training is done. I think this week I have to look forward to actually doing a driving test in the actual 18-wheeler, with a truck and trailer attached, and, driving through town. I think they even said I'll have to do like a route on my own, just to show that I'm getting the hang of it, and then actually putting me into that position where I'm driving the truck, in city limits, outside of limits, that's outside of city limits, that type of thing. So looking forward to that. I don't know if I mentioned either, like the first week that I was on a truck, I don't know if I mentioned that my trainer's name, his name happens to be Jamie, and he's a black dude, and he's a character, man, and I say that as a good thing, because training at a new job is it can be a pain in the ass in itself, but when you get put in there with somebody who's got personality, and they make things a little bit more lighthearted, and it's not as serious, because these guys know what it's like to be in that position, it makes it a little bit easier. So it was interesting to find out that his name was Jamie. So it's Jamie training Jamie. And then even more interesting, we had one of our stops. Well, Friday morning was we went to a United Express, and one of the ladies that was working there, and we ended up stopping to have a conversation with her for, I don't remember what the fuck we were talking about, but her name happened to be Jamie. And what are the odds that there's two Jamies already, Jamie training another Jamie, and then even more so running into another person named Jamie. So there was 3 Jamies, and it was like that fucking Spider-Man meme where they're all 3 pointing at each other, because they're all Spider-Mans and shit. That's exactly what it was like. And I was like, what are the fucking odds, right? 3 Jamies in the same place. Like I said, this, being that this guy is black, he's got he has personality to him, and it's good, because like this week he was in an R&B mood, R&B music mood all this week. So he was, playing jamming R&B stuff in the car, and he's got no He's no fucks given, bro. Like this guy sings like nobody's watching. And sure enough, bro, like he was in there singing, hitting high notes and shit, singing Genuine. I don't know if you guys have heard that song, My Whole Life Has Changed. You know, he's my whole life. Like he's just hitting high notes and shit, bro. Like nobody's watching, and I dig that, man. He's unapologetic in how he carries himself in terms of having a good time and shit like that. And it's very refreshing, and it's fun to watch, and it just makes for a good time overall. It's not stale and stagnant and serious the whole time. So shout out to my trainer Jamie. Also this week here in Lubbock we had this thing, and this is the second time I've heard of it. Last year I didn't go to it because I wasn't a part of the company, and I don't like to get out period anyway. So this year was my first year going to it, and we went to this event that they have here. It's called the Hub City Barbecue Cook-Off, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's where a bunch of vendors get together, and what I now know is that it's a bunch of businesses all over Lubbock, like you name it, like locksmiths, people who make parts for various industries. Coors Light, the beer company, was out there. United, Market Street, any kind of business that you could think of was out there at this cook-off event, and they all had a booth, and they were all making barbecue, and as well as the company that I work for, they had a booth there. It's probably one of the bigger booths, and when you get in, and mind you this. So the tickets are $50. It's a $50 ticket, right, per person. But through the company that I work for, they gave out tickets to the employees, so it was free, right? And that means that all the food is free, and on top of that, they had beer that was also free. So it's free beer, free soft drinks, free barbecue, and desserts throughout the whole event, which is fucking crazy as fuck for $50. And there was a shitload of people there. So I can only imagine how much money this event made, being that the tickets were $50 and it was as packed as it was. I was not expecting that. But you get in, you give your ticket in, and then as soon as you get in through the gate, and it was at the South Plains Fair too, so as soon as you get in through the entry, there was a big tent immediately following that was where you get wristbands for bracelets, where you can get your where you're able to get beers and shit. And sure enough, like I said, it was free. And sure enough, man, like you could imagine, there was a line out the ass for this to get your wristbands for the free beer. And sure enough, there's people walking around the event, 2-3 beers in their hands, and people smelling like beer. But as far as I could tell from the whole time that we were there, and I was only there for 2 hours. I went with my father-in-law, so we were there for about 2 hours, and nobody got out of line. Everybody was civil, and it was quite the experience, and it was very enjoyable. We got there, and as soon as we got there, like I was like a kid in a candy store, except it was barbecue, right? Because I love to eat. So we got there, and we went to the first fucking booth, and they had the first one had steaks and brisket. The next one had like pulled pork sandwiches and tacos and chips and salsa, street corn, beans, barbecue beans, sausage, desserts, like you name it. Any type of anything that you could barbecue, they had. They had one booth that had a brisket mac and cheese, and all this shit was fucking good. I think I only came across one brisket that was not that good. And the motherfucker about that is, the lady said, this is gonna be the best smoked brisket you've ever had. And she lied. She was a liar. It was not good. I ate like 2 bites of it and I threw it away. But it was free, so what the fuck? What are you gonna do? And I don't know how many vendors there were there specifically, but it must have been like upwards of like 50 or more maybe. And I think we only made it to maybe 8 booths. And I'm telling you, bro, like I was full. And when you go to these booths, they didn't have like full portions. Like it was like they were like samples. Some of them had like bigger portions than others, but for the most part, it was like a sample of whatever they were barbecuing. And you just go in and you grab it off the table and you fucking, oh, this is good. Oh, is it good? And this and the, the little chitter chatter, and then you fucking move on and shit. For the most part, though, everything was good. Like I said, I only come across one that wasn't. So it was quite the experience, man. You owe it to yourself to get out to this barbecue cook-off. If you got $50 to buy a ticket, it's quite the experience, man. But make sure you go on an empty stomach so you can hit more than fucking 8 booths like my monkey ass. Like I said, we maybe hit 8, and I was full, man. We ended up sitting down whenever we got to our company's booth. They had like a canopy and a bunch of tables and chairs and shit for the company people, and you can get your barbecue from them and go in there and sit down and chill out and shit. Sure enough, we got there and we ate from their booths as well. Sat down, took a load off, and I'm telling you, like, I wanted to. Oh, excuse me. I wanted to fucking fall asleep, bro. Like, I was that full, and it was because like maybe an hour before we had got there, before we finished, like I had finished at my my day job from there. I had some Wendy's that day, man. So I was already, not full, but I had some food in my stomach, and then I drank some water on top of that, and I was just full, and didn't have as much room as I should have, and I should have been prepared to have, and I filled up pretty fast. But nonetheless, it was a free ticket, it was free food, and it was good food, and it was quite the experience, man. I thoroughly enjoyed it, man. So I'm looking forward to it next year. And like I said, if you can, make sure you get your tickets early and get to that bitch next year, because it's worth it. It's worth every penny if you have to pay for it. Now, let's go ahead and get into some football. Last week, because I did the episode on, I think I did it on Sunday last week, and I covered the Texas Tech versus Cincinnati game. We went to that game. I was there in person, and I saw that, so I already covered that. I won't go over that again. Today is Saturday, and today Texas Tech plays Arizona, and it's an away game. Texas Tech 4-1 against a 3-1 Arizona. It's a 10 o'clock game, so I don't have anything to cover as far as Texas Tech goes, because that game has yet to start as we speak. But a little bit of quick info on that game, because I think this game is going to be, Tech also, like my kids' soccer team, and this is on a different level, of course. Tech has their work cut out for them. They have Arizona. The only loss that they have, again being 3-1, is they lost to a number 20 ranked Kansas State. So far, they've played 2 ranked teams, and their last game was a win against the number 18 ranked Utah. So they got their work cut out for them tonight, and as long as the offense keeps it pushing consistently, if they get ahead and they stay ahead and they make the best of every opportunity that they have with their possessions, like I said, they stay ahead, I believe that they can pull out a win against the 3-1 Arizona, who's potentially played I'd say they've had a tougher schedule, if you will, being that they've played 2 ranked opponents. I don't think Tech has played one yet. Tech does have a loss, and they do allow points, but they can also put up points. So as long as they can keep the pace up and push the points and score and get on the board and make 1 or 2 stops on the opposing team on Arizona, I think they'll be in pretty good shape. And if they come out with the win, which it looks like they will, because they have been playing good football ever since their only loss, they've got a pretty, I don't know if a light schedule is the right phrase to use for the rest of their schedule that they have the rest of the remainder of this season. But they should be in good shape and get to a pretty good bowl team, because they, like I said, they do have some easier opponents the rest of this season. So we look forward to checking on that, and I'll get those stats to you next Saturday, or next weekend whenever we do this. Which it looks like I'll probably be doing this again next episode next Saturday. So stay tuned for that. Next, let's get into some NFL from last Sunday. I'm pleased to announce, man, that Denver, we now have 2 wins back to back. We opened the season with 2 losses, so 2 wins in a row is it's great to. I'm glad that we had 2 wins, because looking coming out with 2 losses, it wasn't looking pretty, and 2 wins is definitely a step in the right direction, obviously. But the Broncos beat the Jets 10-9. Total yards for the Broncos, 186 yards. Passing yards, 60 yards. Rushing yards, 126. Jets total yards, 248. Passing, 184. Rushing, 64. Bo Nix, 12 for 25, only 60 yards with the only touchdown. No turnovers by Bo Nix. Aaron Rodgers, 24 of 42, 225 yards with no touchdowns. Now, the Jets did hold, the Broncos defense did hold the Jets when it counted. They kept them out of the end zone, yes. But on the opposite side of the ball, the offense, it was lackluster, to say the least. Again, 60 yards passing. Like, that's almost unheard of. I don't even remember the last time you heard of a game where they didn't have more than 100 yards passing. So the offense, again, they did come away with the only touchdown, and it wasn't pretty of a game at all. But we've got 2 wins back-to-back. I look forward to the next game tomorrow. We play the Raiders. Hopefully they can keep the momentum going, get a third win, and hopefully put up more than 60 yards through the air, more than 186 yards overall. So a win is a win, yes, but I want these guys to play at the level that I know that they can play at with Bo Nix behind that quarterback and the Broncos being a good team overall. So hopefully they can get it together, keep it pushing, get another win, and start to build on some impressive momentum that they got going. So, the Cowboys, they played the Thursday before. They beat the Giants, so I'm not going to get into that again because nobody likes the Cowboys anyways. So, let's go ahead and get on to the next our next subject, Sunday standouts. The 4-0 Vikings and Sam Darnold, 275 yards, 3 touchdowns. The Vikings still looking fucking impressive. Sam Darnold playing consistently well, and Vikings overall just looking very good. So the next game they got against the Jets, and if it's the same Jets that showed up against the Broncos, that should be an easy game for the Vikings. Move them to 5-0 and keep their momentum going. Next standout, the veteran Joe Flacco, 168 yards, 2 touchdowns with a win against the tough Steelers defense. And I think the last time Joe Flacco played was maybe, last year was when he played. I think it was last year or the year before that. But he played with the Broncos, if I'm not mistaken. I know he played for us, but I don't remember if that was last year or the year before that. But it's been a while since he's had a start, so he comes out with start this season for the 2024 season. Again, 168 yards and 2 touchdowns. They win against the Steelers defense. Next up, Baker Mayfield. He had a big game on Sunday, 347 yards, 2 touchdowns, 4 carries for an additional touchdown with a win against a always tough Philadelphia. You never know who you're going to get with Philly, who's going to show up. Sometimes they could come in and steamroll a team, and other times they just they don't show up at all. Sure enough, they didn't show up against the Buccaneers. Baker Mayfield, another impressive game. Next, the 3 wins in a row, Washington Commanders. Jaden Daniels, 233 yards, 1 touchdown, 8 carries for 47 yards and an additional touchdown. Jaden Daniels, the rookie coming in, he's just still on fire. Just keeps looking good, man. The running backs in Washington put in for another 3 additional touchdowns. Overall, they're looking really, really good. Like I said, 3 wins in a row for the Washington Commanders. Next, we have the always impressive Lamar Jackson, 156 yards, 2 touchdowns, 6 carries for 54 yards, and an additional rushing touchdown. No turnovers by Lamar. Also, for the Ravens, Derrick Henry, 24 carries, 199 fucking yards with 1 touchdown. Win against Bills Mafia. And an always tough team to play against, no matter where they play, at home or away. The Ravens come through. They put the hurting on the Bills, and sure enough, Lamar and Derrick, the dynamic rushing duo, they come in and they just they steamrolled the Bills Mafia. So the 3-1 Detroit Lions next with a win against the Seahawks, 42-29. Overall, the fucking Lions look good against the Seahawks, man. Jared Goff, 292 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a receiving touchdown. Hello, surprise, surprise. The Detroit running backs pitched in for an additional 3 touchdowns rushing, and they were firing on all cylinders against the Seahawks. Same thing with them. When they show up, they really show up and show out. So it's always good to see the Detroit Lions come through and put the hurting on somebody. They had an impressive last season. The season before that, they were showing signs that they could be a top contender. Sure enough, last year they made it to the playoffs. Deep into the playoffs, I might add. And going into this year, 3-1, they're looking really good. Interested to see how the Detroit Lions season shakes up this season. So looking forward to that. Last but not least, and here's a name you probably haven't heard of too much good from, but he sure enough, he came out. He was the only quarterback with over 500 yards this past weekend. So that shit was fire. Kirk Cousins, 509 yards, 4 touchdowns, only one interception, and a fucking great, and I mean really great back and forth game against the Buccaneers. 36-30 win in overtime. Another, I don't know if you'd say standout, but he came in clutch when it counted, was Young Ho Koo, the kicker for Atlanta. He makes 2 extra points, and then he misses 2 actual field goals that probably would have won them the game, kept them out of overtime. But the last field goal that he come up for, it was for 47 yards, and then the Falcons got a delay of game, pushed it back an additional 5 yards, so it was a total of 52 yards on the field goal. And the 2 field goals that he missed previously were less than, it was like a 37 and a 42-yard field goal, and he missed both of those. To see him come out and hit a 52-yarder to send the game into overtime and then allow Kirk Cousins to throw another touchdown to win that game, that motherfucker came in clutch. So Young Ho Koo for the clutch kick to send the game into overtime. Now, let's revisit the topic of drunk football that's happening this season, right? There's a lot of teams losing when they shouldn't be, and then teams that are winning this season that you probably wouldn't have thought would be winning, right? But they're winning this season, and nonetheless, and they are looking good. And I mean that being the Minnesota Vikings and the Washington Commanders, aka the Washington Redskins, right? They are looking good. There's some teams that are I would say have been forgotten, right? Nobody really talks about these teams that much, but they're looking good this year, and there's a lot of underdog football, and I think that is good football, and I love it. It makes for really interesting games, really interesting television watching here in America, and it's good to see like I said, teams that you wouldn't think win come out and they're winning 3 and 4 games in a row, and they're on a hot streak. So it's always good to see underdog football here in America. Looking forward to tomorrow's NFL matchups. There's kind of a lot of easier matchups this week, but after this week going into next weekend, there's some pretty good matchups to see if these teams that have the momentum, if they can keep it going, because that's when the schedule starts getting harder going into late October, early November, and then into playoff time in December or January. So we look forward to that. We look forward to this weekend, see how these teams shake out going into next weekend when the schedule starts getting harder. So look forward to that. Now, the topic for this week, I want to talk about Las Vegas, and this video is on my YouTube under the Travel Adventures of Jamie the Conqueror, and the video is titled "Dirty 30 in Las Vegas," and it was my 30th birthday. We ended up going to Las Vegas for my birthday, which is in December. Now, it's December 20th to be exact. So it was like Christmas week, and it was we ended up driving to Vegas, right? It was me, my wife, and then my homeboy Levi. He flew from Lubbock, and he flew to Las Vegas, and we timed it just right that we drove from Lubbock to Las Vegas. We got there in time to pick him up from the airport. So it was a 13-hour drive. It was 14 hours with stops. We left here in Lubbock at 4 a.m. And if I'm not mistaken, I worked the night before we ended up leaving. So I came home and I slept for a little bit, but the anticipation was too much, and it was killing me that I didn't really get a full night's sleep. Right, I think I probably slept in a total of like 2 hours. Got up. We left at 4 a.m. We got to I think Albuquerque was when I took my first little cat nap. And I don't even know if I took a cat nap. I think we just put gas and we kept going. But that was our first gas stop. And when we got there, it was pretty like picturesque. It was a scenic view. It was something like out of a movie. We were where we were, it was like a hilly area in Albuquerque. The gas station we stopped at, it was like on a hill, and you could oversee like a lot of Albuquerque. And like I said, it was early morning. You could see all the lights, from a distance, in the distance, and it was something out of a movie. It was almost unreal. So Albuquerque, New Mexico into. We ended up getting into the far side of Arizona. I think we stopped in like Flagstaff. And that's when I took an actual cat nap. I slept for like 30 minutes or something like that in the parking lot. And it was much needed, man. Because like I said, I only got 2 hours prior to leaving Lubbock. So took a cat nap in Flagstaff, which was a very beautiful state. Like when you think of Arizona, I don't know about you, but I never thought Arizona would look as good as it did in the area that we were in. It was like a hilly, not mountainous region, overly mountainous, but it was like hills for sure, and it was like a lot of big tall trees. It was like a fucking forest. And obviously being in December, there was snow that had come through the area, I guess, days or weeks prior to us arriving there, and it was like melting already. So it wasn't like overly snowy, but it was enough snow that you could tell that there was actual fucking snow that was on the ground, and it looked exactly like winter, man. And it was a nice, we passed through some nice cities. No, yeah, I think it was Winslow, Arizona. Because I remember that from the fucking lyrics from the Eagles song, Take It Easy. Winslow, Arizona. I think that might have been where we stopped. But nonetheless, it was all that area in Arizona was nicer than I expected it to be. And I remember that really caught my attention because it was a nice area. Nonetheless, into Nevada. And we ended up putting gas again before we got into Vegas, so that way we wouldn't have to put gas when we were in Vegas. Because I don't know if you know this, but like a lot of these bigger cities, the gas is a lot more expensive. So we filled up before we got there. That way we could just drive on in, get to the hotel, have gas to roam around once we got to Las Vegas. And sure enough, that's exactly how it worked out, right? But driving into Las Vegas, you get to you pass through the Hoover Dam. Before you actually get into like Henderson, before you get to actual Las Vegas, but you go through the Hoover Dam, and man, I'm telling you, like driving, it's before we got to the Hoover Dam, like everything is like flat and desert, just like you've heard Nevada is. And as soon as you start seeing the mountains and you start seeing signs that say Hoover Dam, it gets like really fucking like mountainous. It's like a heavily mountainous area, man. And like they were like so big. It was like something out of a movie, right? You start out above like these mountains, and then you start driving down into like what appears to be like a valley, right? The valley before you get to Las Vegas, and you drive down through these mountains, and like these bitches are steep, and it's almost overly intimidating. Well, for me it was because I used to have this fear of driving, and I still have this fear of heights. So combine those two with the views of driving into the Hoover Dam and then across that bitch, like these, I'm telling you, man, like it was nerve wracking. And I was like, I let off the gas and I was on my brakes a little bit, going into the Hoover Dam crossway and shit. And it was all that to say it was a beautiful region nonetheless, man. Like there were scenic views, like you could stop on the side of the highway to on these overlooks and look down over the Hoover Dam and the mountains and all that shit, over the desert below and the river that leads into the Hoover Dam. And it was something, it was unreal, and you owe it to yourself to pass through there at some point, make the drive to Las Vegas and see that view for yourself, because it was breathtaking. It was intimidating, but it was breathtaking. We got it. We passed through the Hoover Dam, and then you get into the city limits, the outside of Las Vegas, and you can see the Strip literally from the right when you get into the city limits. You're not necessarily in Las Vegas, but you can see the Strip from far away, man. Like all the tall hotels and the casinos and the attractions and shit. You can see it from far, far away, right? Now, it's also misleading, I will say, the Las Vegas Strip, because you work your way through traffic and the highway systems, and then you get into the area where the Strip is, and we ended up getting into the Strip on the south end. And our hotel, we stayed at the Strat Hotel, and it's on the northern side of the Strip, right? So on the opposite end from when you come in, right? Now, if you've ever seen on Google Maps or just any pictures of the Las Vegas Strip, it doesn't look like it's that far of a commute or traverse or travel, however you properly say that. But once you get there, man, it took at least an hour to get from the south side to the north side of the Strip where we were staying. Luckily, though, there there is the scenery of all the hotels and casinos and all the attractions that those two things have to offer. It was a lot of scene, and then not even just that, but all the there's vehicles now that have billboards on them. The electric billboards that change and shit, so you can see all the information, where to go, all the specials, deals, and stuff that are offered on the Las Vegas Strip. So there was a lot of shit to look at while you were in traffic, but there was a lot of traffic nonetheless. We ended up getting there midday. I wouldn't say lunchtime type traffic, but it was traffic nonetheless, and it was traffic that I was not expecting and that we aren't used to here in Lubbock, Texas. So it's very misleading. The size of the Strip, it's bigger than it looks. That's what she said. Now, again, we stayed at the Strip, and doing all this research prior to going, you want to try to get a game plan of and what to expect before you get there. Sure enough, I did that, right? We ended up staying at the Strip because it was a little more cheaper than all the other places. And me and my homeboy, because his mom was the one that paid for the hotel, she paid for it for us because it was my birthday, and his birthday was in October, so it was a late birthday present for him. So she paid for the hotel, right? And originally we were gonna stay either at the Pyramid or the Excalibur, and we ended up going with the Strat just because it was a little bit more cheaper, and we kept that money and we used it to we bought weed and we bought liquor and shit when we were down there. So it was not a lot of money that we saved, but it was a little bit of money saved nonetheless, and that was more money to use to enjoy. So looking at the reviews of the Strat, they weren't flattering at all. But again, me and my homeboy, we're not bougie people at all, so you take it with a grain of salt, right? The reviews of the Strat, right? Because it says the hotel rooms weren't that good and they weren't up to date, and that the service there wasn't all that good, and the area is not really a good area to stay in. All that. Once we got there, we found out that was not the case at all, man. These rooms were updated plenty. They flat screens. The furniture was nice. The beds were comfortable. The room that we had actually had a view. And I will say this too: if you ever go to Vegas, use the $20 tip, right? And I found this out on YouTube, which thank God for YouTube. It's when you're checking into the hotel, you ask them if they have any free upgrades that they have to offer, and you slide them a $20 bill whenever you hand them your driver's license and your reservation and stuff. You slide them $20, and you say if there's any free upgrades, and that it's a known trick or tip. I wouldn't say trick, but it's a known tip that they say has been used in Vegas for 50 years, maybe more. You ask for free upgrades, and you slide them a little 20. You slide them a small 20 and they'll fucking hook you up if they got something. And sure enough, we ended up getting a room with a really good view of the strip. So like I said, everything was nice in the hotel room. It was a nice hotel room. There was no bugs. There was no fucking lights that were out. The TV worked. Everything was fucking up to par. You know what I'm saying? All the service that we received at the Strat was good. I didn't have not one complaint. Everybody was hospitable. Mind you, it was Christmas week, so everybody was probably in a good mood. But nonetheless, it was, the service was top notch. The area, I will say, there's like a lot of apartment complexes in the neighborhood around the Strat. Was a lot of houses that have been closed up, and I will say too that there was homeless people in the area, but I think, and I did find this out, that there's homeless people all over the Strip, right? It's not just in the area that we were at where the bad reviews came from. So all that to say, like, the reviews were, the bad reviews, I should say, were misleading, right? We didn't have no problem with any of it. We didn't have no problem with homeless people, with crime, nothing. It was a fucking a 10. It was a 10 out of 10. I would recommend staying at the Strat in that location to anybody, right? Even if you got a family, right? Because there was people there with kids coming in and out of the hotel to this casino, and then all the area around it. So there was no problems at all. There wasn't no cops, no altercations, no fucking none of that type of stuff, right? It was, so take the bad reviews with a grain of salt, right? The location of the Strat, which was very fucking convenient, because right around the Strat, they had budget food places. You can get cheap food, fast food type stuff. There was like a Carl's Jr. There was IHOP, Burger King, Denny's. Those were the food places. There was a McDonald's inside the Strat. So all the food was affordable nearby if you're there on a budget like we were. So that was a plus. There's other casinos located conveniently to like literally a 5-minute walk from where we were staying. So the closest one was the Sahara Casino, which is a very nice hotel. That bitch was like, it was like gold was one of the colors of the hotel, and it was like prevalent through the whole thing. So it made it look very fancy. And the chandeliers, the entryway was nice. It was a nice hotel. It was a nice hotel and casino, right? And it was less than a 5-minute walk. There was a CVS, which also is another thing to keep in mind. Like, if you're there on a budget, CVS is one of those places where you can literally get anything you need while you're on a travel trip on a budget, right? You can get anything there at the CVS. There was a liquor store across the street from the Strat. There was a hotel. A weed dispensary across the street from the liquor store, and right behind the fucking CVS. So it was like right between the CVS and right between the Carl's Jr., right? The weed store was like right there. So everything is conveniently located to the Strat, right? All up in that area. So like I said, if and when we ever go back, I think we're gonna stay at the Strat again, just because it was affordable, and there was plenty of amenities, conveniently located. I don't know why I have such a hard time saying that, but located near the Strat. So that's my advice. The Strat, this is the other thing that you probably, they don't tell you before you visit Las Vegas, but on the table games and the slot machines, there's like the table minimums. That's something that I wish I would have known, and I'm glad we stayed where we stayed, because the table minimums at like the Strat and the Sahara were the minimums were pretty low. The buy-ins to play on these table games were like $10, $15 I think was the highest one. And what that means is, like, every time you place a bet, the minimum you can place is $10 and $15 on the table games. So we played blackjack, we played roulette, and I wish I knew how to play craps, because I always watch videos of gambling in Las Vegas of people making, winning money on craps. So that's on the list for next time. But keep a lookout. That's my tip for the for gambling, is keep a lookout for the budget hotels and casinos, man, like on the north and the south side of the strip, because that's where your table minimum is going to be lower. And we learned that because once you get to like the middle of the strip where all the big time casinos are, like the Bellagio, Caesars, Planet Hollywood, those all were like $20, $25 minimums on these table games. And if you're there on a budget, like I said, like we were, it's easy to blow through your money gambling at those places. Now, I will say those places are nicer. They're a lot nicer, man. Like the atmosphere and all that type of stuff. The amenities inside these casinos is fucking top notch, man. The sports books were bigger. They had more TV screens, more sitting space. The bars, the shopping, and everything was just top notch in these bigger casinos. But like anything else at these fancy places, you're gonna pay a little more extra for it. And sure enough, that was the case right there in the middle areas of the strip. So keep that in mind when you're going out to gamble at these places. Table minimums are cheaper on the north and south side. Now, another tip that I will give you, and this is a gem, when you're going out to spend money to eat and drink when you're on the strip, there was a place like this food court or shopping court type place by the Hollywood, by Planet Hollywood. It's called Ocean One Bar and Grill. And man, I tell you what, boy, like they had this big ass menu, and it was $5 meals. You can get like hamburger, cheeseburger, salad, chicken sandwich. I forget what else they fucking had. Chicken strips, fish, all types of. They had like at least 10 different options you can get for $5. Type of meal. Drink, fries with. I ended up. We got the cheeseburger meal, and it was, and they ask you how you want it. Medium rare, all that type of shit. So that the $5 meals really came in handy. Like I said, on a budget, that shit comes in clutch. And even more so, man, like if you're there to do some drinking, which we all are. If you go to Vegas, you're trying to have a good time. You're trying to get live like Channel 5. This is the place to do it because they had a special, and it's all day, every day. 3 drinks for $12. And the same thing like the food. They had at least, between easily 10 and 15 different choices of drinks you could get, types of liquor, cocktails you could get, 3 for $12. And sure enough, man, I ended up getting a mixed drink. I ended up getting my wife a mixed drink, and then I got a little glass of scotch to go, which is another thing I love about the strip, man. You didn't have to finish your drink right then and there. Like, you can get a to-go cup, put your alcoholic beverage in that bitch, and then head back out to the strip and on to the next casino or site or whatever the fuck you're doing on the strip. You can just take that alcohol with you. You ain't got to drink it there and get fucking tore up before you leave the restaurant. And sure enough, man, I ended up catching a good buzz. Had a nice meal. They ended up. My wife got the waiters and servers and the waitresses. They all sang. A group of them came over and sang me happy birthday. So that was real nice. Got a free dessert for my birthday. Ocean One Bar and Grill. If you're there, you got to check that shit out. You're gonna save a lot of money, and you're gonna get your money's worth for what you do spend at this place. So check that bitch out. Ocean One Bar and Grill. There's no shortage of shopping outlets, souvenir shops throughout the strip. Like, they're literally everywhere. They're right next to each other. They overlap each other. Like, that's how much shopping you can get done on the strip for these type of things. And I really like the souvenir shops because one thing I do like to do, being that when you travel, you like to get souvenirs. Souvenir shops really do come in handy. And like, a lot of these places had a lot of the same things. But when you found something that wasn't the same, it was eye catching, and sure enough, I bought like a lot of souvenirs to bring back. That didn't break the bank. That's the other thing. The souvenir shop's pretty affordable, but when you go to these shopping places, that's where the things get pricey. So another tip: hit your souvenir shops and get you something to bring back home as a memory. Now, what really stands out about the strip is all the things that you don't need to spend money on, but that you can still have an enjoyable experience. And I like sightseeing. I'm a simple man. I'm easy to please. I enjoy sightseeing and just taking in the the environment and that type of experience. And there was no shortage of that. Like I said, the things that stood out was the hotels and the casinos, because they're all like, fucking big, huge buildings, 20, 30, 40 stories high, and, just, lit up. Everything had lights on it, electric billboards, the signage. They had screen advertisements. Everything was fucking. It was exactly what Las Vegas looks like on any type of video or movie that you've ever seen, man. Like, it's exactly like that. Like, it's like Christmas every single day, right? But casinos. The sounds of the strip, the music that's always playing, the street performers, all that shit. And again, it's all free. And then on top of that is the other actual like attractions, which notably the one that I enjoyed the most was, and you've heard of it, I'm sure, the fountain show at the Bellagio. And I didn't know. I thought it was just the fountains just go up, and they just, you see the fountains doing what they do, going up in the air and all that shit, and that's all it was. But no, you get there and there's music playing, and it's like in sync with the fountains. And again, we were there Christmas week, so they had a lot of like Frank Sinatra Christmas themed music and like Broadway show tunes type music playing. Again, Christmas themed. While the fountain show was going off. So that was really enjoyable, as well as like the lights. There's lights in the water that light up the water that's being shot into the air and all that shit. So all of it in sync, made for a really good free attraction. And I would recommend that to anybody to at least go watch it at least one time while you're out there. But I think that bitch goes on every 30 minutes. And I don't know that it's the same or if it's different. But if you go out there, you got to see it at least once. You owe it to yourself to see the Bellagio fountain. During Christmas, it just made it even that more special, because that's probably like one of my favorite holidays. And the theme of it and the ambiance and experience overall was one that you owe it to yourself to see. So check that out. And lastly, what really like solidified it for me as a place that I would probably want to move to at some point, that being Las Vegas, is the Las Vegas lifestyle. Like, it's a 24-hour city, and there's nothing there that's out of the ordinary for these people, right? Now, again, on the Strip, you can walk around with your alcohol. You can walk from place to place on the Strip, in public, and drink in public, that type of thing. Like, it's a party on the Strip all day, every day, right? I think even throughout all Las Vegas, you can drink in public. And that sounds like some degenerate type shit, but if you could control it, and and everybody else around you is doing the same, and they're not acting a fool, it makes for a really good time, I think, and I felt, and I did actually experience, because like I said, we went from place to place with free drinks, because when you gamble at these places, they'll come up and they'll give you a free drink for a tip, and you can take that drink with you between casinos and in and out of restaurants and shit like that. That type of experience on the as it pertains to the lifestyle was next level. There's people, and Las Vegas is Vegas itself is a legal state in terms of weed, cannabis, marijuana, and there was no shortage of that, man. Like, you could smell it in the crowd, and we came across like a handful of people while we were there for the 3 days. There was people smoking, and at one point on the last night that we were there was a guy. He had a blunt, and he was asking people for a lighter, and I just so happened to have one. And he asked me, and I let him borrow the lighter, and he let me hit his blunt. We chopped it up for a minute. He told me he was waiting for his flight, and so he was just on the Strip burning time, and he ended up buying some weed. And like I said, I hit the blunt a couple of times, and I got caught a good buzz on whatever he was smoking. And so that was pretty cool. And like I said, nobody was acting a fool, and there wasn't people like tripping and being stupid or nothing like that. That we came across. So. And like I said, that being that there's that's not out of the ordinary. Like, it's so prevalent on the strip that people are smoking weed and drinking alcohol and just coexisting, not bothering anybody. Everybody's having a good time. And the other thing was the characters on the strip. Like most notably, there's the people that they take pictures. You can have your picture taken with them, for a tip as well. There was like ladies. They were damn near naked, man. They only had like like panties, I guess, but they were like the I don't know how I would say fancy, but they were. It was like an outfit, It was like a nice outfit type panties, and they had like little tassels on their nipples, and that was it. And then they had like a little scarf, and I one of those little fluffy frou-frou type scarves, that they wear in the movies and shit, and little fancy hats. But other than that, they were almost naked, man. They were just walking around the strip, asking people to take pictures, and nobody was like overly looking at them, like gawking at them, making people feel uncomfortable, nothing like that. Like it was just like it was not out of the ordinary, man. Like that type of shit is common to the lifestyle of these people that live in Las Vegas, and I thought that was fucking cool. Where people could just go to be adults, do adult things, and not act a fool. You know what I'm saying? And that's exactly what the case was when we were there on Christmas week. So. The other thing that stood out, and another tip as well, use the bus as much as you can on the strip, because just like when you walk around in public with your alcohol, you can get on the bus and drink as well. And sure enough, man, we took it from one end of the strip back to our hotel on the other side of the strip, and I had my drink. My wife had finished her drink before she got on the bus. My homeboy had a drink on the bus, and you could just sit there and chill, take in the atmosphere, see all the sights and sounds and shit like that while you're, on the bus getting back to your destination and shit like that. And it's, it doesn't cost you an arm and a leg like a fucking Uber or Lyft does. So take advantage of that, bitch. Get you an all-day bus pass and use that bitch while you're there and save some money. And while we were on that bus, I remember there was a guy. He had like this fucking big jar of weed, and he was like sitting like right in front of us. But on the left side or the right side, we were on the left, he was on the right, and he was right in front of us, right? And I remember him pulling that bitch out because somebody said that it smelled like loud, like the gas, like the Zaza, as the kids like to say. And sure enough, yeah, he was like, yeah, man, I sell weed and this and that. And he ended up selling like these other guys that were on the bus. He sold them some weed on the bus. And, the other people, the other bystanders, pedestrians, whatever you want to call them, that were on the bus, nobody batted an eye, because like I said, that's just the type of lifestyle that people have come accustomed to living in Las Vegas, and I thought it was fucking cool as fuck. One of the standout experiences also that we had staying at the Strat was there's this experience. It's called the top of the world at the Strat, and all that is like beside the hotel and casino, there's like a tower that stands above all of the strip, and I think it's like the highest point on the strip. And you take this elevator all the way to the top, and there's a what would you call it, like an observation platform or building or whatever. I don't know how you would describe it, but you go up there and it's like this big building on top of literally everything, and it rotates 360 degrees at like a slow pace, and it's surrounded by it's 360 surrounded by windows, and you got a view of literally all of Las Vegas at the highest point on the Las Vegas Strip. And I'm scared of heights, like I said, but we ended up going up there. They have a bar, they have a couple of bars, a souvenir shop, and indoors. And they also have where you can bungee jump out of this bitch. And I thought that was fucking crazy. I wouldn't do that, but we did see people do that. And all of this from this top of the world at the Strat experience observation deck place. So that was quite the experience. And on top of that, you can take it's another level above that is the outdoor observation viewing area. And what really tripped me out is when you get to that, there's two rides on top of this bitch, and what looks like an antenna, but it's one of those rides that it goes up and then it just like drops, and then it goes back up and then it drops again, straight down. It's one of those type of rides, and it was at the very top, and it looked like an antenna, but it's literally the tip of the fucking top of the Strat experience, and it's a ride that you can go on. There was people doing that. I thought that was crazy because, like I said, we were high enough. I'm not gonna get on some ride and do that shit. That's next level. And then next level above that, there's this ride. It's like a little roller coaster, but it's over the side of the platform, man, and it's like suspended on the side, and it just goes up and it goes down at like a slanted angle, right? It like teeters, and it goes all the way down, and it'll stop, and then it'll reverse, and then you'll fall backwards, and it'll teeter, and then it goes forward, and it'll teeter over, and all again over the side of the building, man. And it's fucking crazy, and it's in my video. You check it out. It looks like too much fun for me. But if you're into that type of thing, I would recommend you do that, because it's like it was next level, man. The people that were on that ride looked like they were having the time of their life. But it's too much for my blood. We smoked weed up there. That was the thing that stood out. My homeboy took a pre-roll up there, and he blazed that bitch up, and I would hit it from time to time, and I got a drink from the bar, and I was up there just taking in the openness of it all, and the view of Las Vegas from the top of the Strat. So check out my video, and you can see the view from there, from the inside and the outside. And if you're there in Las Vegas and you want to get good pictures and good videos, to use as memories for when you're there in Las Vegas, this is the place to do it. Since we stayed there at the Strat, we got to go up there at a discount. It was like $10, I think. I think it's like $20 regularly, or maybe it was $5 and it's $15 or $10 regularly or something like that. But it's not an arm and a leg. It's very affordable, and it makes for some great pictures and some great videos. So check that out. Top of the Strat experience. Now, we didn't get a chance to visit Fremont, so the next time we go to Vegas, we'll probably end up staying at the Strat, but only going to Fremont, checking out that whole experience, because that's what they call Old Las Vegas. So I look forward to that. Stay tuned for that. Now, last but not least, let's go ahead and get into the jerk-off of this week, and the jerk-off being... now that we are in Halloween season, what tends to happen is, like at Walmart, they usually have like a handful of aisles that are dedicated to whatever holiday is in season, and then they'll have like the next following holiday, they'll have some aisles dedicated to that, but like in the back of the store, or somewhere out in like the lawn and garden section, out of the way, so it doesn't like conflict with the season that's in right now, or the holiday that's in right now. And that's borderline acceptable, right? It's when you got two seasons, two holidays in the same store, right? As long as they're not like in the same area, the same vicinity. Now, you got these jerk offs at the family, at one of these dollar stores. I won't say which one. There's like 3 major ones. You can fucking guess whichever one you think it is, but like I said, it's Halloween season, and next is obviously Thanksgiving and then Christmas. But the jerk-offs at this one particular dollar store establishment, they had a whole bunch of, they had, the normal aisles dedicated to Halloween, and then these bastards had the audacity to actually have a whole ass section, a display of Christmas decorations, already out, and nothing, and I mean nothing related to Thanksgiving anywhere in sight, right? And I don't know about you, but this is America, and we don't skip Thanksgiving, you motherfuckers. It's a family holiday, and it should be treated with respect. You hear me? It's a holiday where we give thanks. We watch the Cowboys lose, and it's a fucking tradition, and I will not stand for store skipping it. I want somebody's ass in my briefcase ASAP. So you motherfuckers, you better use your resources and put some turkey displays, some fucking Charlie Brown Thanksgiving decorations, some fall colors, something. You disrespectful bastards. Thanksgiving, there's a goddamn there's a See, I can't even talk because I'm such in a temperance mood because they skipped Thanksgiving in this store. So you get it together or you get the fuck out of America. Now, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up before I continue to lose my temper completely. Let me go ahead and cool down. With that being said, enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'll talk to you again next week here on the Jamie's Day Off podcast. Peace.